နေ့ကဝေဒနာဖြစ်ကြတဲ့သဒ္ဒနာခံစားမှုဝေဒနာကိုကြောက်ရောက်တာယာတက်မဲ့တဲ့သဒ္ဒနာဖြစ်ပုံဒီတော့စိတ်မှန်တရားဟာခံစားမှုဝေဒနာပါတယ်လို့ပြောတော့တယ်ဒီတော့သတိပဋ္ဌာန်လက်တွေ့သတိပဋ္ဌာန်လုံးမရှိလို့ရှိရင်ကောင်းကောင်းဆိုခံစားမှုဝေဒနာကနေပြီးတော့တာယာတက်မဲ့မှုတဏှာဖြစ်တတ်ဖို့ဒီရပြောတော့တယ်အဆိုးနဲ့အတွေ့လို့အကောင်းပြောတာအကောင်းနဲ့အတွေ့တော့လက်ရှိကောင်းမှာလည်းပဲတာယာတက်မဲ့တဲ့ကောင်းတယ်ကောင်းနေတာအဲ့ဒီပြောတော့တယ်ဒီတော့ရရှိထားတဲ့ဘဝပေါ်မှာဘာမှဒီဘဝဟာအမဂ္ဂဉာဏ်မရှိဘူးလို့ဆင်းရဲတုံးတဲ့ဒီနာရလို့ရှိရင်နောက်ထပ်ဒီလိုဘဝမျိုးဖြစ်စီနိုင်တဲ့အကြောင်းတရားကနေပြီးပြောရှိတာရှင်းဆရာများယောဂကုပြီဆိုရင်ယောဂရဲ့အမြင့်ရင်းကိုစစ်ဆေးရစစ်ဆေးပြီးမှယောဂတက်ပြီးတော့ယောဂအမြင့်တက်ပြီးတဲ့ဆေးကိုပြရတယ်ဒါမှယောဂမြင့်တက်ပြောက်တယ်အကျိုးကြီးကုလို့မရအကြောင်းကုမှနာမယောဂပြတ်ပါတယ်ဒါလိုပါပဲပြောရဆိုတာဘဝရည်မှာအကျင့်ပြီးတော့ဒီတော့ကာမဂုဏ်အာယုံကအကျင့်ပြီးတော့ဒီဘဝဆင်းရဲတဲ့ကာမဂုဏ်ဆင်းရဲတွေကလွတ်လွတ်တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်များအကျိုးရှုမှအကြောင်းတတ်မဆက်တန်တရားဆိုတဲ့အတိုင်းပေါ့ခုလောလောဆယ်ပေါ်နေတဲ့ဒီလိုက်ကြတဲ့နားနဲ့စားတဲ့ထိတဲ့ဒီလက်ကိုယ်နဲ့ဆံနဲ့စတယ်ပေါ့အမြဲမပြတ်လို့ဖြစ်နေတဲ့အကျိုးတရားတွေပေါ့ဟာနောက်ထပ်ဒီလိုအကျိုးတရားကိုပေါ်ရအောင်ပေါ်စီတတ်တဲ့ဖြစ်စီတတ်တဲ့ကျိုးတရားဖြစ်စီတတ်တဲ့အကြောင်းကိုပယ်တတ်ဖို့ပေါ့ဝေဒနာကနေရအောင်ဝေဒနာကနေပြအောင်ဒီဥစ္စာရှုမှတ်ပါဆိုတော့ဒီဥစ္စာရှုရလို့အတိအကျဉ်းနဲ့ဖြစ်လာလို့ရှိတယ်တဏှာနေရာမှာသတိပဋ္ဌာန်လုံးနဲ့ပညာရောက်သိတော်တယ်ဟာဒီတော့သတိပဋ္ဌာန်လုံးနဲ့အတိပညာဖြစ်ပြီးတော့ပါဒါပါအဲ့ဒီအတိပညာပေါ်မှအကြောင်းပြတ်တယ်ပါအဲ့ဒီပြောပါပါ
Yesterday Sarah mentioned how with the feeling as condition there arises this attachment, Vedana Pachaya Tanha. And also he mentioned how every consciousness is associated with feeling. There's always some sort of feeling, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral in every consciousness. And if one is not mindful with the practice of the way of mindfulness, this feeling, pleasant or unpleasant, can lead to craving, attachment, and even the grasping or clinging. Such as when one meets unpleasant situations, one will long for pleasant feelings. And when one meets pleasant situations, one will not only get attached to this pleasant feeling, but also will wish to experience more and more of this pleasant feelings. And even with the simple reflection, one can discover that this life has no security. And for that, one will be able to rationalize that the cause of this existence should be overcome or removed. Like when the physician is treating the patients, this physician has got to diagnose the root cause of the disease and then prescribe the medicament accordingly. Then only, instead of just treating the symptoms, the physician will be able to treat the patient knowing the root cause of the disease and will be able to cure this patient of this ailment. So also the Buddha has mentioned to see the flaws. Whoever wish to be free from this sensual worldly pleasures should see the flaws in these worldly pleasures. And only when one is mindful of the effect, one will be able to extinguish the cause. Then there will be no more grounds of existence. Rounds of existence, samsara, will be cut off totally. And there's ever arising sense impressions should be noted. They are the effects. So one has got to, by being mindful of these sense impressions, one is said to be removing the cause of these sense impressions. Then one should stop at this feeling stage, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, with the practice of the way of mindfulness and the cultivation of knowledge. Thus one will be able to place or replace this tanha with wisdom or knowledge, with the practice of the way of mindfulness. Try to be mindful in place of this craving or attachment. So in this way, by being mindful of the effect, one can uproot the cause. When one does not see the flaws of anything, one will always think that this is pleasurable and will become attached to this kind of habit and will long for better and better ones. And this is attachment and grasping. Then one will make effort, one will strive to obtain or to get this object or whatever, the results. And these results have no security. Once one sees the flaws in one's actions, then one will not think that this is pleasurable or this is wholesome, such as the sense objects. If one sees the flaws in the sense objects, one will detest to enjoy or to experience these sense objects, because one does not see anything good in them. Thus one is said to have seen the truth. Then one will not wish to get this. There will be no craving, attachment, no tanha, no craving to the new existence, no craving to the sensual or worldly pleasures, worldly objects or sense objects. Then this, when one has no craving attachment, one will not make any effort by body, speech or mind. One will not think about getting this object. One will not speak about it, nor act about it to get this object. Then one will, because there is no sensual pleasures, no sense objects, there will be solace and peace. One will experience peace and happiness. Sarah gives a simile that when you are habituated to smoking, because you don't see any flaws in smoking, you see that this is pleasurable, that there's something good in it. At this point, maybe mention that people do things because they think they are good. They don't see any flaws in them. Emperor Ashoka had written in his monument that people do things because they think they are good. And when they do things, there may be some skillful, unskillful actions, wholesome and unwholesome, but mostly unwholesome actions are done because people think that they are good, but they are unwholesome. But so long as they think it is good, they will go on doing it. That is how Emperor Ashoka had written this in his monument. So also, people get habituated in smoking because They don't see any flaws in the smoking. But they think it's good in smoking, that enjoyable, and nothing bad in it, so that they get attached to this smoking. They cannot terminate. They cannot get away from this smoking. They become habituated. The same thing goes with drugs. When they take on drugs, they think they are good. They do something good. That's why they go on enjoying taking drugs. And at one time, either on one's own or at the advice of or suggestion of others, one comes to hear or see the flaws in one's practice, such as smoking. Then, previously, one did not see the flaws in it. One get attached to them, to these objects. Now one begins to see flaws in it. So one will start detesting this. And one will not attach anymore. This is quite obvious. So one will do all one can to terminate this practice, to get away from this habit, such as smoking. Thus there will be no more suffering related to smoking. Because there is no attachment, one will not enjoy smoking. Thus there will be no more suffering, no more pains related to smoking. So also, so long as one does not see the flaws, one will suffer, one will enjoy the suffering. And in the case of smoking, the flaws, the defects are that one will contract respiratory diseases, even cancer. So once one sees the flaws in smoking, that smoking leads to such diseases, then one will realize that this is not wholesome, this is not good. So one will terminate one's habits. So we have to compare in this way. Same thing goes with the human existence. In the human existence, the best pleasure that the vast majority think is the sensual pleasures. When they see flaws in these sensual pleasures, or they have to try to see flaws in these sensual pleasures so that they will distance themselves from these sense objects. For ordinary people, there are things that which lead them to become attached to their life. The sense impressions, they want to enjoy, they will make every effort to enjoy these sense impressions because they do not see flaws in their existence. They become attached. And there are things which can cause attachment by ordinary people. And on top of that, there can be this clinging of self, that it is I who is enjoying. And the one who is enjoying is I. And in this way, one clings to the view of self or soul or individual. This is attachment. There are two kinds of attachment, two kinds of clinging. Senses clinging. One clings because this is something enjoyable, and enjoyable senses, worldly senses, and clinging about views. That is, this is I ego, view of individuality. So these are these two kinds of clingings, sensuous clinging and view clinging. Now, one is because of this kama tanha, sensuous attachment, is in a sense is greed, lobha, and this is sensuous clinging. And as for view clinging, it is deity in Pali, wrong views, holding wrong views, because there are these things which can cause attachment, which can cause view clinging. These things are known as in Pali as upadaniya dhammas, because these are the things people get attached or cling to. There's sensuous clinging and view clinging, and this makes up the human existence. And they will not wish to let go these clingings, view clinging and sensuous clinging, because they will get so much attached to their own life. And Buddha, in this connection, has given this exposition in brief, that people become attached by way of sensuous clinging to their existence, mind-body existence, mind-body process. And also they cling by way of views, having wrong views about their mind-body process or mind-body existence, because they do not see any flaws in their existence. They are enjoying these desirable sense impressions. They think they are pleasurable because they do not see flaws in them. Because they do not see that the enjoyment is very small compared to the flaws. The flaws are many. There are many flaws, more flaws than enjoyment. You can enjoy very little, but there are many flaws. And those who see in this way that there is little enjoyment, but much flaws, those people are the good people who can cultivate knowledge. And this is Vijja, knowledge, knowledgeable people through experience. And not seeing the flaws is Avijja, ignorance. And there are two types of ignorance, simple unknowing and misconception. Simple unknowing is not knowing the flaws in the ordinary sense, not knowing that they are not pleasurable, they are not to be clinging, they are not to cling like self or soul. This is ordinary unknowing. In Pali we call apatipati avijja, simple unknowing, not knowing that there are flaws in it, or not knowing they are subject to flaws. And misconception, in Pali we call mecha patipati avijja. This is misconception, seeing pleasure in the flaws, seeing pleasure in them. Simple unknowing is apatipati avijja, and misconception, seeing them as really pleasurable. Not only not knowing the flaws, but one thinks that they are pleasurable, they are good. So this is misconception or misunderstanding, mecha patipati avijja. In this way there are two kinds of ignorance or unknowing. And such people are those who do not see flaws because they enjoy these sense impressions, whether they be monks or male or laity, male or female, all beings, even devas or brahmas. So long as there are no flaws in them, they will enjoy these sense impressions. They think that they are pleasurable. And once they think that they are pleasurable, they will hanker after better and better situations, better and better sense impressions, like wishing to see better visible object, wishing to listen to better sounds and so on. Thus such people crave or become attached every day, every moment of their lifetime. So once one enjoys these desirable sense impressions, one will not wish to let go. One will go on enjoying this and hanker after better and better things. And in this way one is set to develop or let go this craving. This is why the Buddha has said that people get attached to one's existence by way of sensuous clinging and view clinging. So once they see the flaws, once again, not seeing the flaws in ordinary sense is apatipati avijja, and seeing pleasure in these flaws is mecha patipati avijja, misconception or misunderstanding. So one can verify this statement with one's own experience. As for the ordinary beings, their thought process is like it is clouded, like when one has contracted this cataract. If one has contracted a cataract, one will either not see anything at all, or even if one sees, it will be a mistake, seeing wrongly. So also this, if one is overwhelmed or clouded by this darkness of ignorance, avijja, one will either not see the truth at all, or even if one sees, one will see wrongly. If one is not mindful of this mind-body process, which are the truth of suffering, in Pali we call dukkha satya, at the moment of the arising, one will not see the flaws in this mind-body process. One will, instead of seeing flaws, one will see pleasure in these flaws. Thus, one will become attached to these sense objects, seeing pleasure in these sensual pleasures, sense objects. Thus, one will get sunk in these sense objects and meet suffering. Just like a group of ants swarming and moving towards the honey, in search of honey. A very few, in an insatiable manner, crawling towards the doom. Only a few will return, and the majority, vast majority, will get sunk in the honey that they cherish most. So while struggling, because they got stuck in honey, there was nobody to save them, nor can they save themselves. Honey is sweet, but it's dangerously sweet, fatally sweet. The same thing is with the sensual pleasures. They are very sweet, pleasurable, but dangerously sweet, fatally sweet. If one goes after this in pursuit of the sensual pleasures in an insatiable manner, one is bound to get sunk like these ants, and bound to meet dangers which can be fatal and harmful. Once one sees pleasure in one's existence and not seeing the flaws, one will end up with craving, attachment. And what is the aftermath of this attachment? One will go downstream in a serious way, in a powerful way. The weak attachment will grow into powerful attachment. And the weak sensuous attachment will grow into powerful sensuous clinging. And weak view attachment or wrong views, in a weak manner, will grow into powerful view clinging. Thus, it is said that tanha pacaya upadana, with attachment as condition, there arises this clinging. Because one sees attachment, one sees pleasure in one's sense of one's mind-body process, one's existence or sense of pleasures. This attachment will lead to more attachment in a serious way, in a more powerful way. And there will be also the sensuous clinging and view clinging. View clinging by way of this view of I, individual, person being individual. Thus there are these two clingings: sensuous clinging about sense, clinging in the sensuous manner, and clinging in the view with views. Thus, one will make effort in order to gain more, better and better ones in one's life, and one to enjoy more and more sensual pleasures, more and more sense objects. One will think about it, one will speak about it, and act about it. All actions will be performed. So, if one's actions are correct, in the right manner, with right attention, there will be skillful actions with skillful results. And if one's actions are done with wrong attentions, akusalas, there will be unskillful actions leading to unskillful results. So in this way, and then from upadana pacaya bhava, that is another step. With clinging as condition, there arises becoming, new becoming. And when it does, this does not arise and pass away, it leaves the seed, potentiality. This new becoming can lead to birth or rebirth. Thus, bhava pacaya jati. With new becoming as condition, there arises this rebirth or birth. And once you are reborn, you are bound to endure all these existential sufferings of old age, disease and death. You don't want to get old, but you'll get old. You don't want to endure pain, but you become painful. You don't want to die, you want to live forever, but you are bound to meet death one day. So, and also before one dies, there will be physical, at one time or another, there will be physical suffering, which will lead to mental distress. And this will lead to grief, soka, lamentation. And all these are due to this existence, mind-body process, which is a heap of suffering. They are pleasures, no doubt, but they are dangerous pleasures and fatal pleasures. Thus, these pleasures are fatal. They are not good pleasures, they are harmful and fatal. This upadaniya is upadana is a very high form of, powerful form of attachments, clinging. And there are two kinds of clinging. One is sensuous clinging, clinging with in the form of attachment, and clinging about views, view clinging. Clinging, this occurs in one's, this in a sense is the one's existence, mind-body process. And one sees the flaws. In Pali we call adinava nupasi. Whoever sees the flaws in these sense objects, sense of pleasures, in the worldly pleasures, one is said to have developed knowledge, wisdom. This is known as vijja. If one looks, one will see. If one does not look, one will not see. And when one looks, one will see the truth. Thus, knowledge arises. This is vijja, opposite of avijja, ignorance. If one does not see the truth, one will see pleasure in the flaws. Now one sees the truth, one will not see the flaws. One will see the flaws, one will not see the pleasures in the flaws. There will be no misconception, no misunderstanding. And there will be, when one sees the truth, there will be no simple unknowing, abadibadi avijja, and no misconception or no misunderstanding, mecchapatipadi avijja. These two kinds of avijja, ignorance, will not come up when one sees the truth. Thus, this vijja, which is wisdom, panya, is said to have taken the place of avijja. Avijja, the darkness of avijja, is replaced by the light of wisdom, of vijja. If one does not know, unknowing, one clings. Knowing, one abandons. This is a maxim. Thus, craving or attachment cease to exist. And this practice of mindfulness is not to allow the attachment to arise, or not to allow attachment to arise from feelings. There should not be any attachment in one's lifetime or sense of pleasures. So, in order that this attachment now will not arise, one practices the way of mindfulness. Then, with the practice of mindfulness, these two kinds of ignorance will not arise. That is, not seeing the truth and seeing wrongly. And this avijja, or this ignorance, also arises because of the presence of 5 kinds of hindrances. In Pali we call nivaranas, which hinder the progress, which hinder one's knowledge, which undermines one's development of knowledge. These hindrances encourage ignorance. This first hindrance is this hindrance of sense pleasures, sense desire hindrance. In Pali we call kamachanda nivarana. This is the first of the 5 hindrances. Sense desire hindrances. Wishing to enjoy sense of pleasures, wishing to see desirable sense, visible objects, and so on. So in this way, this avijja, this encourages the ignorance. And also, when one sees undesirable objects, one meets undesirable objects, one will feel averted, one will feel ill will, aversion can arise, and this is the second kind of hindrance. Vyavara nivaranas, that is hindrances of ill will or anger, and this also encourages ignorance. Then the third hindrances is the sentences of sloth and torpor, which encourages ignorance, so that one will not see the truth and one will see wrongly. And the fourth kind of hindrance is uddhacca and gogocha, restlessness, hindrances of restlessness and worry. One will become restless because one is not concentrated, and one will worry for things undone, of good things undone or bad things done in one's lifetime. And there will be the fifth and last hindrance, nirvana, is vicikiccha nirvana, hindrances of skeptical doubt about one's practice, doubt about the teachers who give the correct instructions and so on. All these hindrances hinder the progress to develop knowledge. They undermine one's knowledge, they pollute one's mind, so that the mind becomes unclear, becomes polluted. Thus they are known as cetaso upakilesas, mental impediments to progress. So they hinder the progress in knowledge. Thus one will not see the truth and one will see wrongly. All these are due to these 5 hindrances to progress. And the result is one will see wrongly and one will not see the truth. And in order that one will not see wrongly and see the truth, this one has to practice the way of mindfulness, satipatthana, at every mindfulness of every seeing, hearing and so on, and every sense impressions are to be noted. Every objects arising at the 6 sense doors are to be noted with diligent effort and precise aiming in a sustained manner. Then these hindrances will not arise, there will be no hindrances and there will be no ignorance. The mind will become clear, free from impurities, and one will progress through the different stages of knowledge from the basics, and satipatthana is the best method to develop knowledge through the different stages. It's already 1 hour, the hour is up, so that's all for this evening, and this subject will be continued next day or tomorrow. Sadhu, sadhu.